for both of you, I think I enjoy talking to people and sharing things with people. But for both of you, I was at both of your weddings. That's the link.
Yeah.
I just had to
Yeah.
place that here at the beginning of this conversation. Dave, I was at your wedding, and Martin, I
You
was at your
indeed.
wedding. So I just want to let you know that that's our main connection. The other connection is that we have boys.
Yeah.
We all have boy sons,
Is it all
and that's
boys?
what are they? Boys going to men? Are they old men?
Well, I've got a man now. He just turned 18, so
Yeah,
dear.
I've got 15 and 14 that are just turning 18.
Oh,
They think they're
man.
18 already. It's
And
amazing sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Martin Trusty. I'm originally from London, and I moved to Chicago in 2000, which that's 20 years ago now. Yeah, and I've lived in Chicago since I moved to the US, and now have a house. Been in this house for 17 years now, so I've got roots now. So I always thought I'll be back in England after 5 years, but that didn't happen. So I'm still here,
Yeah.
and I now have 5 boys. Married to the same woman for 20 years as well. Goodness, I sound really old now.
Look at those
Cool.
chin
I'm
hairs,
not even
I
Martin.
know. Yes.
Okay, my name's David, as you know. I live in Derby. I currently got 4 children with Ty, but as you probably know, I've got another son as well. So I've got 5 boys altogether. He lives in London by himself. He's 20, going on 23 now.
Wow.
Yeah. I used to live in London. I moved from Dublin when I was 11, and I started off in London, and I lived in London for 17 years. And then I met my wife, Ty, throughout the job that I used to do, which was the railway. We used to work on railways and signals and stuff, and that's how we met. And eventually I moved to Derby. I thought to myself, God, this is the sticks compared to London. Coming from 16 years in a place like London to Derby, this is like sticks to me. But as far as I'm concerned, this is my roots now in Derby. I like to visit London because my mum's in there, but I also like to leave at the same time.
I hear that one.
Yeah.
And so you both have 5 children.
Yeah. Well, I've got one coming up, as you know.
It's true. I was wondering if you were going to drop that one in.
Oh yeah, of
wow.
course. Yeah. Baby boy number 6. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. Oh.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
In a few days' time.
Well, in about 3 weeks, but it could be any time between now and the end of June. So yeah.
Wow. And in terms of I've just rediscovered what you do for a living. So tell me, Dave, what do you do for a living, and how does it feel right now in the middle of this whole lockdown and COVID for you doing that job?
Yeah. Well, I'm a prison officer. I've been a prison officer for the past 7 years, and as you know, before I was a prison officer, I used to work in childcare secure units and stuff like that. So I've been in the security setting for the past 13 years altogether. Throughout the COVID, because I work in a setting where it's 24 hours, it's a job that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no, it doesn't close down, unfortunately, because it's a prison. Things still need to run. And since the COVID, I haven't had time off through sickness or through any symptoms or anything like that. So I've worked the whole way through, so yeah, I suppose I've been part of the key working process.
How do you feel? Have you felt kind of any pressure? Do you feel like the people who you are working with or who are in the prison, that they are feeling any pressure?
Yeah, of course. To be honest with you, just two prisoners on my wing died of COVID-19. So obviously we had to have a full lockdown, which caused some unrest, as you can imagine, with the clientele that we have, because I work in the high security. It's category B, so it didn't go down too well. We've had a few staff off. Luckily, we've had no staff, no deaths in staff as such. but we've had family members of staff who have passed away. So it's quite a trying time, to be honest with you. You know, yeah. So it's been quite trying, because obviously Ty is pregnant. She used to work for NHS. So for me to go into that setting where there's like 800 prisoners and staff, there was always that worry I was going to bring something home and possibly pass on to my wife and children, which was a big worry, you know, to myself and Toya.
Mm. How did you deal with that? Did you have to shield at home, or divvy up bedrooms and stuff like that, or how have you handled, or just wash your hands? Is that enough?
Yeah, it was just more of a case because of the situation that we're in with Toya being pregnant. It was pretty hard for me to be in separate rooms and stuff, because obviously she needed help and things like that. Yeah, I'd just come in from work. Obviously, I wear a uniform, and it'll be straight in the wash. Whole clothes straight in the wash. The boots would be my working boots would be sprayed and cleaned at the front door, and I'd be straight in the shower before I even get to speak to Toya or the children. You know, just so I can just try and clear everything off if anything was on me as such. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Blimey, I didn't even
Yeah.
fully appreciate that at all,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, I mean, it's like, wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do understand as care work. Say number one key work is obviously NHS staff and any healthcare profession whatsoever. Obviously the police, but we do feel at the prison, as you could imagine, we are one of the forgotten services that actually we work 24/7 round the clock, 365 days a year, and we feel that we have been forgotten about through all this process. You know,
Wow.
because you hear of everything on the news about nurses, obviously police. Yeah, so we're just one of them. Apparently, from what we've heard, there's 15 in the country or possibly worldwide. There's 15 other people, more jobs, more important than we are, the prison service, and we just find that hard to get around when we're
That's
actually, yeah,
that's interesting in terms of it being placed in that, placed in that context, to
yeah,
say that there is
of course, yeah,
other key workers. And I think what's really interested me as well was when people are talking about essential and non-essential shops. I
yeah,
didn't appreciate the language
yeah,
that has evolved since we've come into lockdown as well. So
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Martin, what, you work from home,
I do.
what do you do, and how has it been for you during this past 2-3 months?
Well, I mean, the weird thing is I've been working from home for like the last 5 years. So for me, it hasn't been that much of a change. And I work for a company called SDL, and I work on support services for our clients who use our software. So again, for me, it's been, oh, you work from home now. Okay, I'll just do the same thing. So it's weird because also my wife and I homeschool the children. So, now everyone's all of a sudden working from home and homeschooling. So for us, it's been like, it's just another day, but we're seeing how for everyone else it's been so hard because, oh my goodness, now I have to figure out, stopping working is one thing. People, when I first started working from home, I would work, just keep working until, oh, it's dark outside. I have to go downstairs and eat some food or something. So it's a weird complaint to have, but you forget about having a routine, and the people actually finding that it's actually hard to work from home because you don't have the routine of getting up, going to an office, sitting down, leaving as an office worker. You're suddenly at home working all the time, or trying to find somewhere to work, or you have children or whatever. And I've been lucky that I'm in a situation where I'm used to this, and also with the homeschooling, we're used to that. So all the complaints now, and I think that one of the good things about this whole lockdown is that people probably appreciate teachers a bit more, that they do a lot more work than they think, and keeping children entertained and having like a schedule and structure is hard. So it's I know it's terrible, but that could be one of the few good things that people are seeing how other people are having to work through this, and having to adjust your schedules, and all of a sudden you've got your family here, and you're on a call, and people are knocking at your door, and it's been really interesting that people are not only getting closer together by, you know, realizing, hey, there are other children and other people in situations like me. It's not just I'm by myself. That's been my good takeaway. I know everything's not perfect, but that's one of the bright spots I've seen, that other people know that this is hard for everyone. So, you know, we can sort of push together. But no, hearing how you do, Dave. I mean, you know, you don't even think about, you know, oh, guy's working in prison, he's got to look after people 24/7 a day, and, you know, then going home. For me, I'm at home all the time, so, you know, I go out, come in, wash my hands, make sure, you know. But for you, you're in a situation where you have to make sure everything is, you know, you have to have that delineation between I'm outside and now inside, and that's something I didn't even think about. And, you know, that oh gosh, yeah, it's. I should be talking about me. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
This is about you both, and I give credence to both of you, because it takes a lot of energy to do what you do, and for both of you as dads. And I think I don't always appreciate what men do, I suppose, in terms of energies. I'm always concentrating on women, because I'm always trying to give women a voice, and I'm always trying to give people with melanin a voice. And so for me, when I look at men, I may actually say, you know, I'm going to make sure that the women are at the forefront, and talk to them more. But I wanted to be very, very deliberate in this conversation about talking to you two. And I'm interested in how, as you grow your men, as you're growing your children, have you, I mean, David, how do you see your boys? Because you're married to Toya. Toya is of mixed parentage, so dual parentage, isn't it? She's got...
Yeah, Jamaica. My mum's Jamaica, dad's from England.
Yeah. And so when you talk about your boys, how do you see the boys? Do you see them as dual heritage? Do you see them as black boys? Do you see them as... I mean, how do you see them in the context of you being Irish, English, or British?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see them as mixed heritage, from Ty's mum's side and from my side. So I'd say Black Irish, which, yeah, that's how I describe them most definitely. Black Irish heritage. Yeah.
And when you heard about George Floyd in America, what did that do to you? And what did that do to you in the context of you've got mixed parentage boys?
First of all, I couldn't believe a human being could do that to another human being. Obviously, we're all should be treated as equal. With the boys themselves, the teenagers have obviously, the 14 and 15-year-old, they've obviously taken it quite hard. The twins, we've tried to explain it to them, but they're only 9, so you could imagine, like, they've got so many questions surrounding it. I've just got the most greatest respect for. It's made me even more have. Obviously, I've got respect for the heritage where they're from, but it's made me have more respect, because these things are happening in the world that shouldn't be happening. You know, it's just amazed me how things like this are still happening when they shouldn't be.
Did you feel divorced from the news because it happened over there across the pond?
Divorced from the news? How do you?
Yeah,
How do you mean,
as in, did you think that it's not happening here in the UK, or did you think?
No, it's happening all over the world. It's definitely happening all over the world. Unfortunately, we live in, as you could say, corrupt countries, and there's always somebody behind the scenes. It's definitely happening everywhere. Yeah, most definitely. I've never seen any prejudice or racism towards my wife Taya or the children due to their mixed heritage. Since I've been with them, I've obviously experienced, let's say, prejudice in a way, because obviously where I'm from Irish, grown up in England and London, I was called all sorts of names you can imagine, because back in them days it was a time where certain political groups in Ireland, shall we say, were doing things in England that they shouldn't have been doing. And so I've experienced prejudice, as you could imagine. But yeah, I found the whole incident quite hard to deal with, to be honest with you, of what happened to Mr. Floyd. Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll come back to something. Martin, what are you? I mean, you're there. You're there in America. Every single state, people are marching and doing stuff. Cool,
Yeah, I mean,
blimey. There's been a build
it's
up, and it wasn't just George. How are
no, I
you?
mean, it's been, I was with my family, and that you don't hear all the news, and it's there have been incidents almost every year, almost it almost feels like every month that something happens that could spark something, and I think this has been the one that really blew everything up, because I've never seen it been this bad, over a killing by a police officer of a black person in the US, and that's really sad. I can just say that as like a mundane everyday thing, but it has happened before quite a lot of times since I've lived here. It's just that this time was just so egregious, and he seemed so casual, just in the video. After
Yeah.
people tell him around him, saying, get up, get off him. Even one of the police officers was saying, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. But it just seems, the fact that it seems so casual is probably part of why it's just came to such such a head, that everyone is just around the world, which is probably the biggest thing about this. It's not just in the US, it's around the world. I'm seeing from countries in Europe and around the world protesting against this one incident of one man in Minneapolis, and it really hit home here, because my wife is from St. Paul, which is the city that is across the river from Minneapolis. They're the twin cities in Minnesota. So for her, it was like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing not only Minneapolis burning, but also St. Paul, which is where she's from, people that she knows being affected by this, and they really hit her. And because again, she's white, so she funny enough grew up in a black neighborhood, so she had the reverse, that she was the minority in her neighborhood. So she really feels for this, because she saw how black people are treated at growing up, and it made her angry. So now this has been, another thing, and now she has children of mixed race as well, and it really hit both of us really hard. I must admit, it's not been a good feeling, because again, he's around my age, my skin color. It could have been me, and that's another thing that he could have, So, I it really did hit home that. And I think it hit so many people again, because it's just so casual, and the history here, learn about the history of the US and how they've treated uh, the slaves and the blacks and whoever who is not of the right skin color. It's really depressing, and you think, oh, it's getting better, but then an incident like this happens. It's like, oh no, we actually still have more to do. That's my hope, that something will actually come of this, and it won't just be another footnote in history. That's really what I hope, going forwards, that there will actually be real change. It seems things that seem to be happening, the right things are being said, but ask me again in 5 years. I'm sorry to be so jaded, but it's things have happened before, but I'm just hoping this is that the time that there is a real change here.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you are fielding or listening to the questions that your boys, your men are placing around you as a family. Do you joke about it, laugh about it, you know, read about it, get angry about it? Because when I look at my boys, I've got 3 boys, 15, 14, and 12. So there's a mixture of things that go off. There's the anger when we come across a social media post, which might be of somebody who is talking about, and I think some people, and it's predominantly, so in terms of Caucasian people, in terms of white people, there may be, one of my sons was basically saying, I don't feel that this person's being genuine, that people are suddenly jumping on the bandwagon, mum, of this protest that's globally happening. So
definitely.
so they're not feeling that white people are being genuine in their thirst for knowledge, or in the grief of it as well. Some of it is, there are memes. Obviously, there are going to be memes and stuff like that which come up around how some people who are not being accountable. So over here in the UK, we're still looking at people like Dominic Cummings and how he traveled up to Durham when he was infected. So we're looking at the fact that we've got leaders, we've got people who are not accountable or who can't even apologize. And, you might throw a statue in the river in Bristol because of what's happened in America and how the whole world is feeling. So there's this anger, but there's also trying to bring lightheartedness to some of the situations as well. What are you talking about? I don't know, at dinner time or bedtime, or when you're watching a movie together or something with the children. Either
Well,
of you.
it's funny because we talk about race. We've been talking about for years because it's something that they will have to deal with when they walk out of the house. When they're older. So any question that comes out, we try to answer. Anna and I will try to answer as frankly as possible, and just tell the reality is you can't hide from something. It's not something you can just go somewhere and all of a sudden no one notice that you're of a darker skin complexion or whatever. It's something that we've always spoken about head on. So I've actually had very few questions about it. It's been more about what my experiences have been growing up that they've asked me, and I've told them I've probably lucky. I've only been stopped once by the police ever. So it's and that was over in 3 seconds. So it wasn't even a stop, more of a I'm doing this, and I kept going. So thinking back, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what happened? But I was lucky it didn't. But like I said, I've been pretty lucky that I haven't had as many negative interactions with the police as a lot of people do. And I hope that continues for me and my family. But I mean, I have to tell the truth that we will be singled out. And as Dave said, in the 80s, you were singled out because of your accent and where you're from. So it's not like it's just a one thing. It's if you are different from the group, or different from the person who is who has the control at the time, then they'll find a way to do something to you. And it may be pretty, it may not be. But yeah, I don't shy away from the hard questions because I want them to ask the questions, because if they don't ask now and something happens down the road that they're not prepared for, not that I can prepare them for everything, I'd rather them know that yes, something bad can happen, or you can always call us or whatever. There are people you can reach out to, rather than them thinking they're alone and this is only happening to them. So it's surprisingly they've had very few questions, but I'm hoping that just means that we've already spoken about a lot of this already, so that they don't have too much fear.
David, what are you talking about in your house?
Yeah, because as I said before, the teenagers understand more than the twins. The twins are the ones that's asking a lot of questions surrounding it. And although I want to tell them the truth about what happened and that it's happening in the world, I've also got to take a back step, because I don't want to scare them as such. I've always told them to be proud of their heritage. Obviously I've said that I'm Irish, Black Caribbean, but I said if you want to choose the English bit, you can do it. It's totally down to you. If you have any experiences where you feel somebody's getting at you because of your skin color or because where you're actually from, then you need to cut that head on. I just don't want my kids growing up thinking that because they're a different color, or their accent or whatever, that they feel they have to abide by that. Going back to what you said about the protests, I do believe, and I was saying this to Ty the other day actually, there are people jumping on the bandwagon. Not that I've seen personally, but I can imagine there's people jumping on the bandwagon that don't have no care about the actual Black Lives Matter protest. They're just there just to cause havoc. You know, the ones that, the May Day riots, them sort of people that tearing statues down and as such like that. So there is people jumping on that don't really have a care or cause for it in the world. They're just there to cause trouble. Yeah, I do believe there should be protests around the world, most definitely.
It's
The
been really
violent
interesting.
protests is obviously, yeah, the violent protests have obviously, you just say, well, if you're going to protest, don't protest violently, because you're just giving more ammunition for people who are against ethnic minorities or where you're from. You're giving them ammunition to say, oh, look, that's what they do. This is why we want them out. Or, you know, they're just so prejudiced with them about.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
would you?
I do believe what you said has been sabotaged, definitely.
Yeah. How do you see the some kids are going back to school next week. I mean, some kids have gone back already. So in the UK, where Gavin Williamson has basically asked for the reception in year ones, so they're 5 years old, and year sixes, and they're the ones who are
Yeah,
going to
about
be
that.
going
Yeah,
into secondary, and then the year tens who will be doing their GCSEs next summer. So they're all going into school. He wants them all in school before the end of June. I think some of them have already gone in, and the year tens, I think they've all started, because I know that key workers' children in the UK, they are still going to school. They're allowed to go to school. In America, are you on summer break? So you've got no, if you were, because you're homeschooling, so it
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. Well, yeah, but my
yeah,
my youngest actually is going to school. Well, was going to school as well. So even though he would have been, he actually ended last week. So yeah, they have a very long vacation time here. So all schools, all graduations have been happening. I've seen
yeah,
people driving around in cars with graduations going on. So since they all can't get together, that's how they're doing it. But yeah, school is now finished for the year here in at least this state. Other states are slightly different, but in Illinois, schools are now ended. So it won't be until September they'll be going back. And of course, you know, the whole second wave that they don't know about yet. As far as we know, school will be back in September, but you know, we'll see. I do hope so, because it's you know, I hope they get to the bottom of this. You know, with all the things you keep
Rona.
finding
Yeah,
every
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
it keeps changing. So it's like, oh, it's this much. No, you need this. No, you need this. You know, it may just be, you know, we just have to wear face masks for a bit longer, and you know, they will get past it. I don't know. I am not a scientist. I didn't even play one on TV, so I have no idea. But you know, we do hope that, you know, there'll be some sort of normality, you know, by autumn. But you never know.
Do you think that education is lacking in terms of what happens in our children's knowledge? Because I know for a fact that here in Derby, or definitely in my school, definitely I feel the whole of the UK, and looking at the rhetoric, that children are not taught about their own culture, in terms of, they're not even given the full picture of World War II, let alone looking at colonialism and imperialism, and looking at how they fit into the world. So I feel that there are big gaps in history, and I feel also that in terms of the history of brown peoples being integrated into the national curriculum, that there is a way to go. It's very simple to do things like making sure that there are books, or even bringing people into schools to talk about their history or the history of something. It's not all hidden figures in the background or people who are eradicated. You homeschool, Martin, and I know you and Anna have worked so hard to inform your children about history, and about that, the gap in history that definitely my boys have had missing in their education. um, David, do you feel that there's an opportunity for history to be included in a way that is fair, including Irish history? I mean, boy, there's a lot of things I don't understand, things about the orange something, and
Yeah.
there's, I mean, there's things that are missing, and if we don't have that, how do you feel about that? What is education for your children looking like after lockdown?
Um.
What would you like it to
Well,
look?
I'd like to see the children back in school. Because the twins are year 4, they're not allowed back yet as such. But because I'm classed as a key worker, I could have had them in Monday to Friday, 9 till 3 every day of the week if I wanted to. Caden's in year 9, so he wasn't. They could all be put into school. Ethan's in year 10, but year 10 hasn't gone back to school yet in Chelsea Academy. What they're offering at the moment is Ethan to go in 1 day a week for 2 hourly sessions. But I just don't see the point in that. I mean, over here, Martin, I don't know if you know, but they're more interested in opening up pubs, zoos, outdoor cinemas, in favoritism for schools, and I just don't understand that. I'm very worried about the twins' education, because although we're trying to homeschool at the moment, you can imagine it's tough because obviously I have to work. I do 13-hour shifts a day. I work 4 days a week, and Ty's at home, but she's 9 months pregnant, so I could send them to school, but then you've got the worry of will they catch something at school? You know, it swings and roundabouts. Going through the history of being taught about in school, they never really, they always come home with history. It's always about First World War, Second World War. You never really hear the stuff you want to hear, like the history got to do with black people, slavery. You know, as you said before, Irish history. There's no way they'll ever talk about that because they just won't do it. It's what suits the education over here. That's all they want you to hear. And going back to the video of George Floyd, media hides a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, and the fact that it was actually caught on somebody's phone just goes to show how much the media is hiding from people, including everything. The statues being taken down in England, yeah, I can see why people want them taken down, but I also can see they should some things should stay in place to show a reminder of what happened years ago. You know, if you take every statue down, then people will forget about what happened. If you see a statue up of somebody who's been done for colonialism or slavery, then people say, "Oh, what's that statue for?" Well, this guy or slaves made him build. You know, that's how children will be educated. But there's definitely a lack of kids being taught in school about Black history and Irish history and any other ethnic minority that you can think of. Yeah.
Martin, how do you see what's happening in education where you are, outside, you know, from a homeschooling environment? You obviously have a network of people that you were linked into. How did you manage it? How did you make it work?
Well, that's the thing. Like we here, and I think it's kind of odd that they have it, but I know they have in the UK now, but they had the Black History Month, but it's always the same things they teach, so it's not anything ever different. You know, it's always the Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, you know, all the
Yeah.
safe ones. They don't go to the Malcolm X, they go to Martin Luther King. So it's like safe, safe, safe. And you know, they touch upon it in the February, shortest month of the year, funny enough. They touch upon it for a bit and then it's like it's forgotten. So yeah, it happens, but it's like in this very safe block. So we've tried to sort of have it, you know, more than just the usual tropes for the US. Because, you know, since I'm from the UK, I have the Caribbean background, so we pull that in, and Africa as well, which is a continent, not a country, which you have to remind people in this country a lot. But it's you know, we're lucky that, you know, we're homeschooling, so we can pick and choose. You know, hey, let's see some of this folklore stuff from the Caribbean, you know, stuff like that. You know, how the history, how, you know, one thing they I've realized, you know, now that they never in the UK talked about Caribbean slavery. It's always about the US had slaves,
Mm.
and you guys were just in the Caribbean and never mentioned about the whole, you know, we were slaves as well.
Mm.
So it's like I say, when I had history at secondary school, we talked about America, talked about England, Tudor times. We talked about Amritsar and the massacre there. So that was a surprise. So it's partly uh, the history teacher, but also the curriculum that they're sort of narrowly have to do. So the fact that we did speak about something that isn't a bright spot in the UK was actually interesting, but they didn't cover something really close to me. It may have been someone else is close to what happened to Gandhi in India and Pakistan, how they ripped apart. But it wasn't close to me, so, and I think they sort of shoehorned in the slavery in America to say, hey, look, black things happened, and that's bad too. That should never happen again. But they don't really touch upon anything that's making it personal. So that's kind of what we try to do. We show that this is what happens in history of some that could be just like you in our family for the history. So I do believe there's a lot more they can do, because the fact that they still have statues up for someone who made money off slavery, but then at the end he was a really great guy because he gave money away. It's like, no, that doesn't really cover the sins. You're only speaking about the good stuff. You're not talking about So I'm kind of with you, Dave, that you should still have something there to say this happened, not pull it down and forget about it. Because I'm worried that you pull it down and it's forgotten. You should have both. You need to have the good and the bad, to remind people this is what we shouldn't do. Not this is a great guy, but he did these things that we have these comforts now because of this on the backs of your people. On the backs of your people, we have all this stuff here. Don't forget that, because we shouldn't do that again. And I think that's what's going to be lost.
That's interesting.
If you
Yeah.
pull everything down, it's just that's going to be lost. And I really hope it isn't.
I saw a Banksy post, I think it was on Instagram, and Banksy had created an illustration or a painting of the plaque of the Edward Colston statue being pulled down, but also you would have on the, being held, kind of pulled down by the people. So it showed that, yes, you're pulling it down, and it was held and it was done by these people, and therefore portraying the fact that it's there is protest in this space. Here, there's a statue. You can reimagine this statue now as being pulled down by the people who don't want it there, kind of thing, and therefore you've got a story to tell. That gives you a different conversation, basically, if you had a plaque that looked like that. I think
maybe that's what they should put in place, a big picture of it being pulled down, and why is it pulled down. That will start the conversation, rather than keeping it up or pulling it down. You have the why we're doing this, and I think that's the important part that we may lose. Yes, it shouldn't be there. It really shouldn't be there, but why it shouldn't be there is the important part.
Really, really good. I think there's as we all have these boys that we're taking into the next 2020. Hopefully there's no COVID-20 and we only have COVID-19 and it dies or whatever. You know what I mean? When the boys eventually get a job, because I'm, in terms of looking at prison life, prison officer, what stories are you telling yourself or your children about the people in prison? Do they get educated in one? Does the population get educated in prison? And two, is it something that you would say to your sons, this is a job that needs to be done in terms of being a prison officer?
I mean, they get very good education in prison. Very good. I've seen prisons come out with all sorts of vocational qualifications got to do with catering, bookkeeping, painting, decorating, any sort of bio jobs that's going. They do give really, really good education in prison. That, to be honest with you, and unfortunately, possibly they wouldn't get on the outside, as you could imagine, because things cost too much to do. You go to college, you got to pay for money. You got to go to university, you got to pay for it. Whereas in prison, although they're in prison for whatever crime they did, they're still getting taught the education that most people wouldn't be able to afford. So yeah,
Wow.
they're taking everything that they can get. Yeah, they are. They're really, the things they're coming out with, like the education vocation, it just amazes me, you know. So I've got to put my hands up to the prison flat and say, yeah, they do educate them well. They keep them busy for the ones that want to educate themselves. That is.
Okay.
Uh,
Would you
yeah.
advocate for your children to therefore find a place in prison so that they can further their life or their careers? Would you
Find a
say
place
go
in
and commit a
prison.
crime, go and commit a crime so that you can
Never.
go into prison and therefore you can get
No.
this free education and come out with these great vocational.
No, of course I wouldn't. No, never. No. Obviously I come home and I do give some stories of how some of my days have been. Unfortunately, I come home with particular injuries on my body because of what I've had to deal with throughout the day. So sometimes I do let them know certain things that happen in prison because that's the last place I want to see them. In terms of any of them being a prison officer, it's definitely a no-go. I've experienced it, I've done it. I don't want my kids going into that sort of job role. I want them, obviously I want my kids to better themselves. But no, I'll always say to them, what you want in life, you go for. Me and your mum will support you whatever you want to do. But we always obviously want to set them down on the right track. Yeah, so I mean, I never went to university. I went from college from 17 to having a job, and then I had a child at the age of 17. So I had to grow up really quick, which obviously I don't want my kids to do as well. I just wanted to education, house, nice car, then go and find yourself a female. If that's if it's a female they want, but you just don't know nowadays.
Well, don't
I'm
you? Well,
hoping. No,
that's right. We're
yeah,
going to be a
yeah.
new world. How about
It is a
yourself
new
then?
world. Yeah.
How about you, Martin, in terms of homeschooling and them now setting feet? Because your eldest is 18 and he's like, okay, so these
Yeah.
boys are, plodding into the world. What do you want for them in terms of career wise or job wise or whatever it is? What is it that you say to them as a
That's,
dad?
that's the thing. I mean, I really want them to find a passion because I know that that's like what I do. I like doing. So I've had jobs where it's like I did it for the money. Not like I'm not working now for the money, but I'm working for the money. They're paying me to do something I enjoy. So that's really what I want for them. I want them to find a passion for them that they like and they can pursue and really go for it. And that's I don't want them to be completely miserable. They're not going to be happy all the time. I know that, but I don't want it to be completely miserable. But I'm just doing this just to get ahead and to have a roof on my head. If they can do something they enjoy, that's great. It's not always going to be great. It's not going to be fantastic, but if they can get
No.
at least 70% there, that's what I want for them. So they are. I mean, the five of them are so different. It's just you can't imagine that.
Oh, we can.
Oh well, yeah, you can. But when I was younger, it's like, oh, there's just another baby, whatever. But they have their
Yeah.
different. They've gone their different ways, and I really try and encourage them to do what they want to do, but also have the grounding. As I said, the education is really important because without that, and it's not even just the education, but it's the wanting, the ability to actually find things out and the wanting to do that. That's if you can instill that. I don't want to grind them down with oh, you have to do these maths things because you have to do maths. No, you have to do it so you can figure out the harder things later on. So that's what I'm trying to instill, that this is your foundation. What you do with it in your life, that's on you. But if you have a good foundation, you can just keep going in whatever direction you need, and don't let the barriers, go over those barriers, that because they're going to come. The barriers will
Yeah.
be there, but if you can get over them with the foundation you have, you can pretty much do anything you want. So that's what I'm trying to instill in them, and I really hope. My first one's go to university in August. Oh my goodness, it's
Yeah.
gonna be. But
Wow.
We'll see. Yeah, it's oh dear. I don't know what I'm doing, by the way. I have no idea. So
Join the club.
But yeah, I just want to be really kind of clear about kids going out during lockdown and after lockdown. Are you happy for your kids to walk the streets, to be with friends at this point in lockdown and after lockdown? In fact, would you let them protest?
I would if they would have wanted to go, but they didn't want to go. So it's like, oh dear.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That's the same with Ethan and Caden. I would if they wanted to, but they just didn't want to go out because obviously they're scared of the coronavirus. That's the reason they didn't want to go. But they definitely would have wanted to protest, but because of the coronavirus, they didn't want to go out. But I totally agreed with them. That's what they wanted to do. Well, it's there for them to do that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I would be there with them.
Would you, after lockdown, or I don't even know, you know what I mean? I think it's a gradual thing. Prime Minister comes out and says, go out, don't go out. And obviously we're following his advice as we do this relaxed lockdown, releasing from this isolation. When your boys walk the streets, go to school again on a daily basis, or go out after school, do you have a different view of the world, or do you just or is it just a new normal? Is it a new normal? Do you have shivers down your spine? Do you worry when your kids go out?
Yeah, yeah, I do worry when they go out. With what's happening and with what's going to happen, things have dramatically changed. I mean, one of my sons, Caden, and I don't know if you know, B, but he's really like OCD. He's probably the most OCD person you've ever seen with cleanliness and stuff. He's actually taking it quite hard with all this coronavirus. Like, he won't even touch light switches in his own home without doing it through his t-shirt. He won't touch it with his hands physically. You know, he's even bought his own toilet seat for himself and everything. That's how bad he's gone.
Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
before? That was before Corona. Was that before Corona? He's had OCD
It's
come
no.
stronger.
He had it before, but it's got much worse.
Yeah.
You know, it's really got much worse for him, and it's quite more hard for. Obviously, the twins are 9; they're not really bothered. Caden does what he does best, but yeah, it's hit him quite hard, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, more than it has with Ethan or the twins. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've got Yao is my second one. So Yao and Caden, same age, and so Yao lost his bike. His bike was stolen the other week, and so
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, wow.
last week, as he was going through this whole processing of information and George Floyd, and he just went on 10.5 kilometer walks every day. He just left the house and went, and I just had to think, I hope you're going to be okay. I know you're going to be okay. You're okay. I have to let you just go and walk. And he did meet up with friends. So at some point, and I would text him and say, when you're coming home, dinner's ready. And they'll say, yeah, I'm just 5 kilometers down. And he'd run home all that. And he's an athlete, so he likes to be physical.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
But in terms of his processing of this, it was like 10-kilometer walks every day kind of thing. For me, I have to breathe and say, these are black boys. I need to let them find their way in the world and step out on the streets. I wasn't one of those parents that let them play out with the kids on the street because I was scared. I was afraid.
Same here, yeah.
I was afraid of them getting into trouble, of them coming in with the wrong kinds of trouble, of them being picked on because of the color of their skin, and therefore being seen by the police or by people first, because I feel as soon as you see skin color, you will be picked on first before they pick on the Caucasian person, the white person. So I didn't like for them to play out on the streets. It's only in environments where I would take them to another parent's house and they go and play with their friends, and then I pick them up and bring them home. It was that kind of thing. But now where they are 13, 14, 15, and able to walk out on the streets, I have to adjust my mind. The same way Caden, I feel, will need to understand how to handle his OCD in a way
Yeah.
as well, how to live with it, because it's something that might be long term for him in terms of his
Yeah,
well-being,
I
and
believe so.
understanding it's a long-term thing, and understanding I'm not weird, or I'm just like, I've just got OCD, which is about trying to control something. So I feel I try to control the boys' lives and them going out, but now I have to let them go out so that they can be free and be themselves. Yeah. What about you, Martin?
Oh, well, I mean, the boys, it's weird. We used to have neighbors next door that they were born about the same age as two of my boys, so they were always, you know, back and forth, and they moved away. So that was really hard on Adam, my fourth child. Really took that hard, but I mean, the rest seemed to be okay. But yeah, I'm not worried about them going out. They hardly ever go out anyway. Gosh, I have to shove them out the house. I'm like what I
Yeah,
used to be like. But I'm not worried about that. I just have the normal worries about, you know, if something's going to happen to them, which is that's always been there. You know, especially, you know, I'm from the UK, so this is a completely different. I didn't grow up here, but they're growing up here, so they have different experiences than I have. So I have, you know, different worries here. But those worries will always be there. That's the underlying parental, you know, is my son gonna be okay? And Mom always used to say to me, I always used to worry about you, you know, if you're gonna be okay. And I always thought, I know where I am, I'm fine. But now I'm the parent, so yeah, I completely understand, you know, what she was going through. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think they'll be okay. They do get around Chicago, which is good that we live here because they don't need a car. They have public transport. They can get around town, and they have. I mean, they have Uber as a thing now, so you know, if push comes to shove, they could take an Uber. But yeah, I would just have the same worries. I'm not worried about, you know, coronavirus or how they'll be seen by having black skin because that's always been there. So that hasn't changed. Now it's just that more people are aware, and that's the only thing I'm hoping, that more people understand how it is to be different in a crowd and how you're treated every day and how you have to be on guard all the time, and it becomes part of you, and you don't realize it until something like this happens. Like, oh yeah, yeah. So it's just the usual worries to me. So this hasn't really changed me in that respect.
Mm.
But you know, ask me again in a year's time, see how I am.
yeah.
See what happens. Oh, I want to thank you both for chatting with me for a long time. That's been for quite a while.
Yeah, it's fine. It's gone quite
Thank
quick.
you.
It's been
Yeah, it
Yeah,
good.
has. Yeah.
I really appreciate both of you, and I really given you air hugs as well. One thing I wanted to check with both of you is you both refer to your children as mixed parentage or mixed heritage. I want to check whether you're saying mixed heritage or whether you're saying black. That's what I want to check so that when I write up the blurb that I've got your correct
So
language.
I say mix, but I tell them the world will see you as black because that's the first thing they see. But they are mixed. That's who they
Yeah,
are. So
yeah. Same here. Mine's mixed as well. Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. So it's not been dual heritage. You've never used that term, dual heritage.
I have. I've used. Yeah, I use it. I use it. I use it quite a lot in the job because most people, like my friends and colleagues, as such, not the prisoners themselves, but colleagues would say, "Oh, this black prisoner or this colored prisoner." I'm like, no, no. You know, I mean, he's dual. It's actually dual heritage. And they're like, "What do you mean? It's half caste." I'm like, "No, it's dual heritage. That's how
Oh
I prefer
wow.
yeah,
So
to
you're
say."
calling it out in
Yeah.
education. That's brilliant. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's what we have to
Yeah.
do.
Some people are still using half caste and coloured, and I just can't believe that. So I have to correct them all the time and say, actually, it's the correct term that I would use is dual heritage
Mm,
for somebody who's got mixed ethnic minorities. You know. Yeah.
okay. All
So
right then. Yeah.
dual heritage to children. Yeah, definitely.
Dual heritage. Oh, mixed. All right then, bro.
Yeah.
Thanking you, both of you, and sending lots of love and hugs to you as well. You, Dave, being a dad, coming up again as well. It's like, oh my
Yeah. Oh man,
It's
congratulations!
exciting.
I'm just thinking
cheers.
how much sleep you're not going to have now. So, oh, dear.
Oh God. Well, this is definitely the last one. We said it after Caden was born. Oh, no more. Then we had twins. Then we said, no, that's
Oh.
enough. And now we got another one. It's like, God. Yeah,
Woo.
yeah, because we've got twins, Martin, and Ethan and Caden are actually 10 months apart. So they're 14 and 15.
Wow.
It's like I don't know why we do it, but there you go.
Oh,
This is
you're a
what we're
busy
doing.
man. I see.
Yeah. It must be my accent. It's definitely not my lips. I'll tell you. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, excellent. All right then,
Oh, that's
folks.
brilliant.
You two take it easy, and I will catch you on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much,
Nice
Bea.
meeting you.